So hi everyone, and welcome to the AmBIssadors online coronavirus edition, I guess. So I'm Vaneet, my pronouns are he, him.
And I'm Lo, mine are they or she. So Vaneet, how have you been doing?
I think very similar to what most people have said to me, which is very up and down, very, very up and down. I think the whole thing hit me quite hard at the beginning, I think like it did for most people. Like I went to the office on Monday, and then Monday at 5 p.m. they announced lockdown, and I left work with my laptop, and I haven't been back since, and that's been quite a weird experience. March lasted roughly about 25 years.
Long.
So we're probably roughly about 2050 about now, I think. It's been going a while. It's kind of weird that it's been going for feels like it's been going for so long. I think April's moving a lot quicker.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think the thing that hit me quite hard is I was quite looking forward to these last 3 weeks because a lot of really exciting things are going to happen. Like the film that I was making with Rainbow Films was supposed to be in BFI Flair. I was meant to be on a couple of panels. I was supposed to be going to Manchester for one of them, for Manchester Pride conference. So there was a lot of really exciting things, and then I was supposed to go on holiday. I was going to go to a little Scandinavian trip for my birthday.
Yeah.
And then at time of recording next week is my birthday, and I was supposed to have a birthday party, and I was supposed to get my tattoo, and
yeah, because we're both Aries, aren't we? Because I missed my birthday as well. I was actually ill on my birthday. So I think me and my partner both maybe had COVID-19. We were ill for like I think I was ill for like 18 days. I had a temperature for 18 days at like the very start of the pandemic. So I left work on Thursday, not feeling very well, messaged my boss to say I wasn't coming in the next day because I was ill. And then that was the night that they announced the lockdown. So yeah, but yeah, like you, kind of up and down, just getting used to it. But for this video, I think we're going to recommend some queer resources that we've been leaning on, like podcasts that we've been using to distract ourselves and books. We have a few hardship funds that we wanted to talk about, which you can either apply to, or if you're still like Vaneet and I and lucky enough to be working remotely, to donate to. We're saving a lot of money on commuting, so maybe consider donating your commuting money. I think it's a good thing to do. So we definitely recommend the London by Pandas Hardship Fund. They're doing an amazing job. They've raised, last time I checked, they'd raised like $7,000, which they're distributing. They distributed it to over 50 people. And also the Outside Project, which is London's only LGBT homeless shelter, are also running a hardship fund, mainly for people who are housing insecure. So if you're struggling with any of those issues, definitely reach out to London by Pandas or to the Outside Project for hardship funds. And obviously, yeah, consider donating to them because they're doing an amazing job. We'll put the links down in the description.
There's another one that I've been seeing that's going around, which is a QueerTIPOC hardship fund that's been going around, where the money then goes to certain communities who will then be distributing the money to people who are being hit hard, so people who are part of their communities. And I think there's another one from Opening Doors as well. They're hoping to raise money to give back to, they're like an older person LGBT plus fund. So there's a lot of different hardship funds out there, and I think it's incredibly important to try to help where we can. Like if there are people like us who are not really being affected in terms of income, to be able to try and give back to people who are going to be hit hard in this way. So, and if there's any other, I'm going to be talking about some of the stuff that I recommend, which are smaller publishers and smaller people, and I think donating money to those kind of Kickstarters or companies at this time is important as well.
Yeah, and also just like supporting people via their Patreon or via their PayPal, because while like everyone has been affected by coronavirus is people of colour, working class people, disabled people, queer people are more affected, more likely to be working, zero contract hours or be on the front lines as essential workers. So it's definitely important that those of us who are lucky enough to still have our jobs are contributing.
Yeah, exactly.
So on a lighter subject, what have you been using to distract yourself? I know that we've put together a list of some content that we've been consuming.
I mean, for me, what I've been consuming at the moment is pretty much just Animal Crossing, and I think it's a great thing. Like, I think I recommend to most people during this time to maybe get invested in video games, just because of the fact that it's a really good way to sink some time. And games like Animal Crossing or The Sims, you can live out a normal life or fairly normal life. Even though you're stuck inside, like, right now it's Easter weekend and it's beautifully sunny outside and we can't really enjoy it the way we would. But hey, if you're on Animal Crossing, you can.
Yeah. Also, I don't play Animal Crossing, but I've seen so many queer people on my timeline are playing it that it seems like it's just like a digital pride constantly. It seems like a really nice way of keeping in touch with people as well.
Yeah, it's great because of the fact that you can use voice chat as well, so you can still be talking to people while you're playing the game. So it's a really good way to sort of bring people together. You can visit each other's towns and just hang out and just pretend that you're like with each other in real life. It's great.
So how else have you been keeping in touch with people? Have you been doing digital events? What else have you?
One of the digital events that I've attended so far would be a Queer House Party. I attended that last week on Friday, and they have an event every single Friday. And it's a lot of fun because I'm very extroverted as a person, and I really love going out and spending time with people, and I enjoy clubbing. And I think it's a really great way to bring people together and have a little bit of a dance. It's run by Harry Gay, who is also part of the Outside Project. And they're also raising money as well, not only for themselves, but for other performers and artists. So they always drop their PayPal, and they have people on, like they had last week, they had Reese's Pieces and Lydia Scabies, I think their name is. So a couple of drag performers. So it's a good way for them to then drop their links and then get money coming in from that. So it's a thing that kind of goes hand in hand, and it's just a really good queer uniting experience.
Nice. And I know Outside Project are running a lot of events, but also two more to recommend from me would be London Bisexual Meetup are running online events, I think, throughout all of lockdown. So you can find them on Medium, and I think they're just running chats for people to catch up and speak to each other as face to face as we can get right now.
Yeah.
Also, Stitch by Stitch, the sewing group that I run, we have a Discord server now. Thank you to Maz for setting that up for us. And I think Maz has just sort of left that running. So I'll put the link to the Discord server in the description to this. And if you like to do crafts, then you can jump on our server and chat about your crafts and share pictures. And also London by Pandas are running loads of stuff at the moment. They're running digital drag nights. They're running digital poetry nights. So if you hop over to their Facebook page, which is just London by Pandas, they have loads of digital events that you can just watch or chat or do whatever. And again, they're raising money for performers throughout that. So there's lots of ways out there to stay in touch with the community. And we'll definitely be retweeting events that we see to the AmBIssadors Twitter page throughout lockdown. So
yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really important thing to note, is that there's, just because of the fact that we're in lockdown and we can't see people face to face, the queer community has moved very quickly into the online space. I know a lot of people who are doing Instagram lives. I think everyone else does as well. Instagram live is booming at the moment. And it's really great because it means that people can still be involved in conversations. And actually, it's probably even more accessible now than it was before.
Definitely.
Because I think before you have to go in person, and a lot of these places aren't always disabled access, and they aren't always great for people who may be autistic or stuff like that. They're not always great for people who don't drink. So I think it's really great that everything is now moved into an online space, so people are now finding value in hosting events that aren't just in person but online too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of takeaways for like us as a community when we lift lockdown about how to like make spaces more accessible and how we can use the internet and digital spaces to reach more people. Hopefully we'll kind of take all of those lessons on as lockdown's lifted. Yeah,
and I think the thing that we have to remember as well is just because we don't have these in-person spaces, that there is still a way to find people who get help and get resources as well. So LGBT Foundation is still up and running, so if people need them, they can still ring in. For anyone who needs the number, it's 03453 30 30 30. If that's wrong, then it will be at the bottom, but it'll be there anyway. And Mind Out has put all of their resources online, and they have online chats. So if you're suffering with your mental health in any way, you can still get involved. You can still get contact with people to help you through that. And also the BISurvivors network, which is the network I run, we're still running our bi-weekly chats. I think we're discussing right now if we have capacity to do weekly chats throughout lockdown. Obviously, because some people might be trapped in unsafe situations or tense situations, whatever it is. So yeah, we're still running our chats for people who have suffered from trauma, from domestic or sexual violence. And also you can reach out to us through our DMs. You can DM us on Twitter, you can DM us on Facebook if you just want to chat. We're doing a lot of work to support people at the moment. In terms of content which I've been seeing and I think people should go and look at, my friends at You Don't Love Me podcast have been running more podcasts now than they were before. They've been doing a lot of coronavirus editions where they're talking about how they're doing during lockdown and on really important topics as well. So all the discourses that have been going around online, like they discussed the whole Rishi Sunak stuff, and they're great, South Asian gay couple. I've been on a podcast with them before talking about bisexuality, so they're really great people. The other things that I wanted to mention is these two books. People know that I am in this one, but they are bisexual anthologies, and it's published by a small print publisher whose new book is going to be coming out soon. So I highly recommend getting these and using this time to sort of learn about bisexuality. I also recommend this book. So I read this before lockdown, but if you haven't, I recommend it. It is a novel that is set in Glasgow in 2001. It actually reads like a little piece of historical fiction, and it's about two lesbian, although one of them maybe bisexual, but it's a woman-love-woman couple, and it's all of the drama that is involved in that. It talks a lot about the LGBT plus scene, especially during that time. So there's a great foreword at the beginning that I recommend reading so you can understand the viewpoint going in. And the book which I'm hoping to read during lockdown, which is published by my friend in America, it's their debut novel. It got released in the UK about a month before lockdown hit, and it is a young adult fiction novel based around dreams, and it has a drag villain. So that's really fun and exciting, and I kind of can't wait to start reading it. Yeah, so my recommendations for podcasts for distracting yourself. I love Triple Bypass. That's my favorite bi podcast, I think. Has Miles Joyner, Miles the Bisexual, on it. I also really like a new podcast called The Bisexual Agenda.
which is by a British podcaster, and my good friend Pip was on it recently, talking about astrology. So definitely give that one a listen. That's awesome. I also really like the BIcast, which is another just bi podcast. Also, while I was looking on Castbox today, I came across one called The Butch and the Bi, which I've not listened to it, but I love the name, so I'm gonna check that out, I think, this week. But yeah, some books. As Vaneet said, this is a great time to like do some research and some bi history reading. So I've obviously been reading loads of like bi books at the moment because I'm writing a bi book, but I definitely recommend Bi Lives. My copy is actually Pip's copy, so thank you, Pip, for lending this to me. And also my favorite bi reference book is Bisexual Politics, Theories, Queries and Visions, which is like a collection of essays from bi leaders and organizers from like the very early bi movement. It was published in 1995. So it's like a great reflection of like the origins of the bi community and like what conversations were happening and all that kind of stuff. And obviously I definitely recommend reading Notes for a Bisexual Revolution. I don't have a physical copy, but that for me is like one of the best bi reference books. So definitely check that out. And in terms of fiction, a great book, which I'll link my review of down below, called Vow of Celibacy, which has like a plus size bi protagonist. It's got like the main character's best friend is like a Jewish woman, and it has like some really great Jewish representation, really bad British representation because the best friend is British, and like the book is wonderful, but I don't think the author had met a British person.
Was it like completely stereotype crumpets and tea?
Yeah, and like they didn't know what 2-in-1 conditioner was, and they were like, "Oh, we don't have that in Britain." And I was like, "Yes, we do. We definitely have 2-in-1 conditioner."
We have like the 3-in-1 and 5-in-1, which I don't know what that means, but it's a thing.
But also a great book that a lot of people don't realize is bi is Shelley Jackson's amazing novel, The Haunting of Hill House.
I love that book.
Love this book. So the Netflix adaptation, so in the book, Theodore is a lesbian, like she is in the Netflix adaptation. But in the book, none of them are siblings. They're just 4 people in this house. And Eleanor, the main character, you could read as like bi or queer, kind of gets caught between like Luke and Theodore. Trigger warning on that book, it talks about suicide a lot. So I think my last recommendation, and it's free, which is great, is a media magazine called Crossing Genres, which is kind of a collective of queer writers. Anyone can submit to it, if like any queer writer can submit to it, and it's like all short stories and novellas with queer themes. So if you want to just like binge read like queer love stories and queer stories, definitely check that out. One of my short stories is on there called The Librarian, which is about older bi women falling in love at a library. It's very mushy, but I think we need that right now. So definitely.
I did read that, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's very mushy, and a lot of the stories on Crossing Genres aren't as mushy as mine. So if you're not into that, there's loads to choose from, and it's all free, and you can just binge read it.
The last thing I want to just say is that during this time, do not feel pressured to be productive. Okay. Do not feel pressured to do work. I mean, I keep seeing things online about how to best spend your lockdown. If your lockdown is just you staring at a ceiling, disassociating for 2 months, just go and do it. Because honestly, this the way that this pandemic is hitting us. You can't push yourself, and definitely do not push yourself in any way.
I totally agree. Like I saw a great tweet the other day that was like, we're not working from home during a lockdown. We're trying to survive a lockdown whilst also working. And if getting through this lockdown is like the only thing you accomplish, that's a huge thing to accomplish. Because we're all about to go through some really hard times. We're already going through hard times. You don't have to write like the next great novel or learn a language or paint a masterpiece. You can just stay home and stay safe, and that is more than enough.
I agree.
So our next 2 videos are going to be videos that we filmed prior to lockdown. So if you see us in the same room together, we haven't broken quarantine. We filmed them before March, I think, or early March, I can't remember.
I think it was late Feb, actually, last time we filmed.
Yeah, oh my God, that's so long ago. And then after that, we're hopefully, if we're still in lockdown in kind of a month's time, we might try and get some guests on to these Zoom calls, chat to some more members of the bi community and bi activists. So yeah, let us know who you'd like to see us do a virtual AmBIssadors with.
Yes, make sure you do. Comments below. Comments below.
Stay safe, tell us what you're doing to distract yourself, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.